Hi everybody, this is Lisa, and it's time again for another Verbling class. In this hour, we're going to be reading an article, and I posted the link already in the Verbling chat, and I'm going to post it again so people can start reading it. I see that some people have already gone there. All you have to do is click on the link. It's over there for you, I think, and it will open up a new window in the Google Documents, and then you can leave your Google Hangout window open and the Google Documents, and you'll just go back and forth between the two as we are reading. Hi there, Aisha. How are you?
Hi, good. How about you?
Good, thank you. And Hamit's also with us. Hi, Hamid.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good. Did you get that joke?
I am thinking.
When all the chemistry jokes are gone. It's,
Okay, I got it.
Argon. I just found that one. I just typed in Google chemistry jokes, and there's different websites. That was one that came up when I first typed it in.
Okay, I put my joke question.
Okay, go ahead. Good. Okay, in the meantime, I want to welcome anybody who wants to join the class. I want to tell you a little bit about the new thing that's going on with Verbling. So for I think about the last 6 months or so, Verbling has been offering English classes and then now some Spanish classes for free for anybody around the world to join. And then we started the premium membership where you pay $25 to get a reservation. And now it's moving to where you need to have a ticket to join a class, and that's just like a reservation. And there are some free ways to get tickets, but the easiest way to get tickets, which means you can join any class you want anytime, is to become a premium member. That's $25 per month. So I always like to say that it's less than $1 a day. So for many people around the world, that's a pretty good deal. So if you are serious about using Verbling as one of your main ways to study English by taking the classes with different English teachers that we have at different times of the days that work for you, then this is a good way to make sure that you're in the classes and you're with students who are also a little bit more serious about using Verbling to study their English and improve. So good class participation and having everybody show up on time, and hopefully that'll just continue to get better and better. So it's still free to watch if you want to just watch the video, and also to participate over here in the Verbling chat. But otherwise, to get into the Google Hangouts, because we only have 9 spots, you do need to have a ticket. I think I posted up here the link to get tickets. There's some ways that you can get some tickets, and that's on that page there if you click on that link. Otherwise, we're going to get this way we can get everybody into the class quickly, and then we'll be able to use our full hour to work together, because that's why you're here and that's why I'm here. So let's get to the reading. Let me first of all, some new things are happening too in the Google Hangouts. Some people's pictures are circles. That might mean you have a Google Plus account, perhaps. I don't know. But so we have Aisha from Montreal, and Arnaud. Where are you from, Arnaud? Hi, Arnaud. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm from France.
Okay.
Paris.
Wonderful. From Paris.
Yes.
I have 3 children, and they are going to France on Monday with their dad and their grandparents, and they're going to be traveling in France for 3 weeks.
Ah, really?
So, yeah, so they're pretty excited.
Nice.
Yeah, they're going to, part of the time they're going to be in Paris, but also they are going to go on some of those canal boats, you know, that go Bourgogne or something, I think. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
Bourgogne.
Yeah,
Bourgogne.
yeah, through that region. Yeah.
Okay, great. Very
Okay,
nice.
cool. All right. Okay, Everyday English, how are you? So, uh-oh, dropped out. Okay, Hamid's joining us, and Maria and Mario. So we have a lot of familiar faces. Mario is also from France. Mario, what part are you from? Where do you live in France?
In a small town called Savigny-le-Temple.
Which area is that? Which region of France?
Suburb of Paris. It's about,
okay.
yes. It's southeast.
Southeast. Okay.
Yeah, about it's about 50 kilometers from Paris.
Okay. Do you go into Paris very often?
Yes, I'm working in Paris, so
Okay.
I'm commuting every day.
Do you have to drive or do you take the train?
No, I take the train. I also biker. Sometimes I take the motorcycle, but it's kind of tiring because you have to concentrate all.
Right.
Yes, and sometimes I just want to be quiet to practice my English during my.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity to just sit and let somebody else do the driving, and you get to listen to stuff or read. Yeah.
So every day I practice my English because I prepare all the video on my iPhone, and then I have 3 hours transportation a day and 3 hours English.
Yeah. Nice.
It is great.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. And Maria, hi there. What you're asking about titration?
Evening.
Oh, what did one titration say to the other? Okay, Hamid, explain titration.
It's a chemical joke. Yeah. Okay. I was googling it, so I can see here. It's like a sort of
titrating down, like when something titrates down. It's Hamid. What is it exactly? The definition of titration when it titrates. Like I think of it when like a liquid is titrating down. Is that right?
Yes, there are 2 liquids. One is in. How can I explain? I know in Turkish the chemical object. Anyway, there are 2 liquids, and we can put indicators one liquid, and there are another liquid like in a beaker.
In a beaker, yeah.
And you can add drop by drop.
Yeah.
And there are some points in this interaction.
Yeah.
And in the beaker liquid changes also its color.
Oh, okay.
So tell us the answer.
So what's the answer? Yeah, what is the answer? What did the one titration say to the other?
Okay.
Let's meet at the end point. Okay. I think you have to be a chemist to get that one. The end point. Yeah, if you look up titration and you look up Google Images, then you'll see what he's talking about with the beakers and how put stuff in. There's like little graphs and things, what it looks like. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, you guys. So let's get started. I'm going to put the article in my screen share here for me. So if you want to read it on the screen, you can click on my... Whoa, it's backwards. Whoa, that is bizarre. Okay, it's backwards in the screen share. I don't know why that's happening, but I'm going to try it again. See if it'll flip itself around. There we go.
And Lisa, today I read a news about this, like this news.
So, yeah, before we read, I was gonna actually ask you guys, have you been reading about this in your own news papers or online or something, and what do you know about it already? So what do you know about this already?
I know many people die in this construction building, and the Bangladesh people, especially in government people, suggest the prevent something.
Yes. Okay.
I remember them on this news.
Yeah. And anybody else know about this? Maria, have you heard about it?
I haven't read the news today. I've been
Okay.
busy. So
Well, it happened a couple of days ago, actually. So,
yeah.
Mario, how about you? Have you heard about this event?
No, I'm just discovering.
Okay, good. Aisha?
Yes, I heard about it, and I saw on the news almost every day they found other dead people.
Yes, more dead people. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, Arno, how do you know about it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There is an easy solution to the problem, but
Yes. Well, that's easier said than done. But we'll see. Hi there.
yeah.
I want to you dropped out last time. You have everyday English on your thing, but what's your first name? Maybe your connection is not very good. So keep trying, and then come on and tell us. Okay, so let me just preface it a little bit. So what happened is, as we can see in this picture, this is a picture of a factory for the garment industry. So the garment industry is what you call the industry of clothes making. So people around the world who work in factories to create the clothes that you and I wear. And you may or may not be aware that there's a lot of clothing manufacturers around the world that are what we call brand names. The brand names are ones that are familiar to some people. Sometimes they're American brands, like, for example, Nike would be a brand name. But there's other people who make clothing from France, from Spain, from other countries, and those are the companies, but they typically have their factories in what we call developing countries, third world countries, basically so that they can have the labor done very cheaply. But unfortunately, many times, or almost most of the time, yeah, Levi, Puma, all of those, yes, a lot of times the factory workers are not always having good working conditions. And sometimes it's not just that they work long hours, but it's sometimes that the factory owners who are trying to make money by working with these companies, working for these companies, they don't always provide a safe working environment. So it might mean that sometimes they lock the doors and people can't get out. And in the past, there have been fires. Sometimes in this situation, what happened is this building was not a very safe building. It already had problems in the building, and so it just was not a very safe structure for to be having people in it working. And so it collapsed, and I think they had a fire, and yes, many people have died there. Not to mention that when you have a garment factory, oftentimes you have lots of people in a small place. So when something like this happens, a lot of people can get hurt simply because there's so many people working in the factory. So this article is coming a few days after it actually happened, and what it's talking about is what you see in the title. Bangladesh factory upgrades could cost consumers as little as 10 cents per garment. So I don't know how it is in other countries, but certainly many Americans like to buy things cheap. They like to have cheap, what we call consumer goods. So we have many big, huge stores like Target or Walmart, and one of the things that they do is they sell things, including clothing, very cheap prices. But what this guy is trying to tell us is that for only 10 cents more per garment, so a garment is anything. It could be a t-shirt, a shirt, a sweater, pants, your socks, shorts, any type of clothing. If we were willing to just pay a little bit more per garment, then that would give them more money to be able to ensure that the workers had safer working conditions. So we'll see what he says in this article. All right. Upgrades. Let me just make sure you guys know that word. Upgrade. That means when you make something better. So it can be an upgrade in your house. When you fix it and you make it better. An upgrade in a software program. Upgrades on, like, for example, Verbling. They keep changing things and make upgrades. Hopefully it's for the better. Usually upgrade is making a change to make something better. Okay. So the factory collapse in Bangladesh has now claimed upward of 700 lives, making it the worst industrial disaster in Bangladesh and the most deadly one in the history of the garment industry. As has been widely reported, workers were hesitant to enter the building on the day of the collapse due to visible cracks in the building. Okay, Aisha, you want to read that? Oh, where did Aisha go? She dropped out. Okay, Arnaud, you're there.
Yeah. Are you reading?
Yes, please. You read the same thing that I just read.
Okay. The factory collapse in Bangladesh has now claimed upward of 700 lives, making it the worst industrial disaster in Bangladesh and the most deadly one in the history of the garment industry. As has been widely reported, workers were hesitant to enter the building on the day of the collapse due to the visible cracks in the building.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So just I'll go over some of the words, and if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Collapse fell down, so the building, the factory building, fell down. A disaster is anything like that happens. It could be a disaster which is caused by nature, for example, a natural disaster like a hurricane or an earthquake, something that just destroys stuff. But in this case, it's an industrial disaster because it happened in a factory. Okay. One of the most deadly ones, so you can imagine that when you describe something as deadly, it means people died. Yeah, and they were hesitant. That means they did not want to go into the building because they could see cracks already. They were visible. That means you, if something is visible, you can see it. So they were hesitant. They didn't really want to go in, but apparently they did. All right. Since the disaster, many have urged large retail corporations to upgrade the working conditions in the factories from which they source their products. 300 large companies had previously refused to sign a pledge to do so before the collapse, citing costs. Okay, Hamid?
Since the disaster, many have urged large retail corporations to upgrade the working conditions in the factories from which they source their products. 300 large companies had previously refused to sign a pledge to do so before the collapse, citing costs.
Mm-hmm. So many have urged. When you urge somebody to do something, it means you want them. You're pleading with them. Please do this. That's you're urging them to do it. You really want them to do something. They wanted them to upgrade conditions where they source their products. So that's a word that they use. So it's the company. So for example, Puma or Nike or any one of those brand names, they source their stuff being made in many different places around the world. All their products are made in different areas, different factories around the world. So that's what it means. If you source something, it means you get something done there or made there. And I guess there's 300 large companies that previously, so up until now or before this time actually, they refused. It means they did not want to sign a pledge to say that they would ensure good working conditions. So a pledge is when you promise to do something. And there's lots of activists around the world trying to get these companies to say that they will improve their factories, but they have not said yes. All right, so, and they're citing the cost. So they're saying, so when you cite something, it means they're giving you that as the reason why they're not going to upgrade. It's because it costs too much money, is what the company says. The need for low prices and fast production is driven in large part by American demand for cheap clothing. So how much would clothing prices rise for the average consumer if all of the costs of upgrading Bangladesh factories were passed on to them? Okay, Maria?
The need for low prices and fast production is driven in large by American demand for cheap clothing. So how much would clothing prices rise for the average consumer if all of the cost of upgrading Bangladesh factories were passed on to them?
Mm-hmm. So basically, a couple of things here. Fast production. So people, they're saying Americans, we have a demand. That means we want. The consumers, are saying that Americans want cheap clothing, and they want them fast. They want to be able to get what they want, right? But the question is, how much would you have to pay if the cost was passed on to them, meaning the consumers? So pass the cost on to somebody, it means it make them pay for it. So even if the companies don't want to pay for it, then why don't you just raise your prices a little bit and let the consumer pay for it? So that's the question that this author is asking. All right, according to an estimate provided by the Worker Rights Consortium, it could be as little as 10 cents per article of clothing. The group comes to this figure by estimating that building renovation, safety equipment installation, and other related costs would come to about $3 billion, which it says is a high estimate that assumes virtually all factory buildings need major renovations, as some may not. Okay, Mario.
Yeah. According to estimate provided by the Worker Rights Consortium, it could be as little as 10 cents per article for clothing. The group comes to this figure by estimating that building renovations, safety equipment installation, and other related costs would come to about $3 billion, which it says is a high estimate that assumes virtually all factory buildings need major renovations, as some may not.
Mm-hmm. So that's not very much money, 10 cents. I don't know exactly in euros, but what do you guys think of 10 cents is? What do you have in euros? The euros is like $1, but what do you have for coins?
Yes, it's same. It's cents also.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, we have 5. We have 1, 5, and 10 cents.
Oh, okay, 1, 5, and 10. So it's probably like 15 cents or something.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
So
yeah,
not very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they're just assuming it would be $3 billion if every, virtually all. That means like if almost all of the factory buildings needed renovations. A renovation is fixing. So fixing it, installing new things for like safety equipment or whatever else may need to be done, like filling in the cracks so your building doesn't fall over. So yeah, that's not very much money actually. Probably I would imagine if consumers knew this, they would be willing to pay that small amount of money. Spreading that cost over 5 years, it comes to $600 million each year, and tacking 10 cents on to each of the roughly 7 billion garments exported from the country each year would easily cover that cost. After the initial investment in renovations, the group says the costs of maintenance will drop significantly. Okay, Nazro, you joined us. Do you want to read? Your microphone might be muted, Nazro. Nazro? Okay. Arno, why don't you go?
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, there you go. Sorry. Okay, Nazro, are you ready or do you want me to come back to you?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead. Spreading that cost.
Spreading that cost over 5 years, it comes to 600 million each year, and taking 10 cents on to each of the roughly 7 billion garments.
Garments.
Garments exported from the country each year would easily cover that cost. After the initial investment in renovations, the group says the costs of maintenance will drop significantly.
Significantly, yes. So spreading that cost over. So when you spread the costs over, that's the phrase that we use to mean that you'll pay a little bit of that cost every year. So in this case, they're saying spreading that $3 billion that they talked about up here over 5 years. So that's what you do oftentimes in financial situations where there's lots of money. You can't put it all in 1 year. You spread it over many years. Another interesting English phrase they have here is tacking on. So when you tack on something, it means you put it at the end. So in this case, the idea is, say something costs you $5, and then you're going to tack on 10 cents to that $5. So then it'll be $5.10 would be the cost. So tack on something. You could also tack on something at the end, like if you were writing something, like a report, and you tacked on another bit of information at the end. That's what tacking on means. Roughly means just about, so about 7 billion garments. And for people who just came in, we're talking about the garment industry and what happened in Bangladesh. So what we're referring to as garments is clothing. Any article of clothing, which could be T-shirts, shorts, pants, underwear, sweaters, just things like that. Okay. Any other words there you guys need help with? Initial. That's your first investment. When you make an initial investment, it's your first costs, the first time you're doing it. And the costs of maintenance. So that means once you actually fix those factories, maintaining them, so keeping them in good working order, will drop significantly, so by a lot. So the initial investment is the real big cost, but after that it's not going to cost as much to maintain these factories. So even without these large-scale renovations, there are precautions that could be taken immediately that would cost little. As Kimberly Ann Elliott, a senior fellow at the Center for Global Development and an expert in international trade policy, told Dylan Matthews on Wonk blog, factories could install fire extinguishers, unlock doors, and take other measures that don't add much to costs, but improve workers' safety. Okay, let's see here. We have many people who joined us. Hi there, Alexandra and Allison.
Hello.
Hi there. And
yes.
we have Asali also joined us. Okay, let's see. Alexandra, are you ready to read? You have to turn on your microphone. I don't hear you. You have to. Yeah, there you go. Alexandra? Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Alexandra. Do you want to read? It's we're at even without these large-scale renovations. You can read that paragraph there.
Yes.
Okay.
Even without these large-scale renovations, there are precautions that could be taken immediately that would cost little. As Kimberly and Elliott and a senior fellow at the Center for Global Development and an expert in international trade policy, told Diane Matthews, of one block. Factories could install fire extinguishers,
Extinguishers.
extinguishers,
Yep.
unlock doors, and take other measures that don't add much to cost but improve work safety.
Safety. Yeah. Good. Okay, so yeah, so large scale, that just means like big renovations. Maybe even you don't have to do those kinds of things, but there are some things which we call, when you take a precaution, it means you are doing something to ensure that you'll be safe, that you won't get hurt, or that if something happens, you'll be ready to take care of that. So some of those precautions would just be having fire extinguishers there. That's a pretty common thing. Unlocking the doors so people can get out if something happens, and doing other things. So another measure would be something else that you would do. And that wouldn't cost very much, but it would help the workers be more safe. Okay? But it may not be as simple as companies investing more in building renovations and fire extinguishers. As Pietra Rivoli, a professor of international business, told Think Progress, one of the biggest barriers to safe working conditions is a political infrastructure in Bangladesh that can properly monitor workers and their employers. Okay, Alison, you want to read?
What?
Do you want to read?
If I want to read?
Yes.
Yes, I want.
Okay, go ahead. You can read that part right there. It starts with, but it may not.
But it may not be as simple as companies investing more in buildings, innovations, and firing extinguishers. I don't know.
Extinguishers, yeah. Fire extinguishers. That's to put out fires. Yeah.
Extinguishers.
Yep.
Extinguishers. As Pietra Rivoli, a professor of international business, told Think Progress, one of the biggest barriers to safe working conditions is a political infrastructure in Bangladesh that can probably monitor workers and their employers.
Okay, good. All right, so
bad.
Hold on, I'm going to go over this now. So what this guy is saying, this guy's a professor, he's saying that one of the biggest barriers, so we come across this word a lot when we're reading news articles, it just means an obstacle or something that is in the way. So something that is in the way of providing safer working conditions is what he's saying is the political infrastructure. The infrastructure means like the government agencies, the governmental system that is supposed to be monitoring this type of thing. And apparently in Bangladesh, they don't have a very good political infrastructure that will monitor or watch out. So when you're taking surveys, you're looking, you're gathering information, and in other countries, there's more governmental agencies that do that. They take care of workers and their employers. So, for example, he says here, in the U.S. we have things like building codes and occupancy permits. She pointed out. What's missing in Bangladesh is that local political infrastructure. There is also a problem with widespread political corruption. It may therefore be difficult for large corporations to substitute for regulatory bodies. Okay, Arno?
A lot of gobbledygook in that right?
Oh, did you understand it?
I don't know. What do you call these fact terms? Those industry
infrastructure. So which one?
No, I'll
okay, let him read it. Yeah, then we'll talk about it. Okay, go ahead, Arno.
Okay, in the US we have things like building codes and occupancy permits. She points out What's missing in Bangladesh is that local political infrastructure. There is also a problem with widespread political corruption. It may therefore be difficult for large corporations to substitute for regulatory bodies.
Yeah. Okay, so let me go through a little bit at a time here. So in the United States, we have things like building codes. So for example, in the United States, you cannot just go build a building however you want to build it. You have to apply for in writing, so you have a lot of paperwork for a building permit. So first of all, that's permission to build something. And then when you build it, you have to make sure that you build it in a way that is consistent with the building codes of your area. So for example, if you're in San Francisco and you want to build a building, well, they know that in San Francisco there's lots of earthquakes or the possibility of earthquakes. So that means you have to build a building that can stand up during an earthquake. So you have to use certain types of materials and those types of things. Other building codes would be like you have to have so many windows in a building. Mm-hmm. You have to have, electricity in all the rooms, just all the different things. And every city has its own building code, but apparently in a place like Bangladesh, they're not having those building codes. So a lot of times in third world countries, people can just go build whatever kind of building they want, and it may or may not be a very safe building. So that's what is really important, kind of more of a modern day thing, of course, and people don't like it necessarily, but the reason for having them is to try to make buildings safer. Occupancy permits. So occupancy means how many people can be in the building. So for example, where I have my coffee shop, we have an occupancy, and we have to post it. I don't even know what it is. It might be something like 60 people can be in our shop at one time. You're not supposed to go over that amount, because at that time, then it makes it dangerous in case there's a fire or something like that for people to get out. So, probably as you can see in this picture, that building probably had, hundreds of people. I mean, already 700 people have been found dead. So there were way more people in that building than there should have been, is one of the problems. So they didn't have any occupancy limits, we could say. To point out, that is a phrasal verb. If you point something out, it means you make it known. You just tell somebody something. You make a point of telling them that. So probably in Bangladesh, there's not that type of political infrastructure where people are demanding that the government, the city government, the local government make sure that buildings are safe, that there's these types of rules in place. Instead, there's what we call widespread. So political corruption, probably in most areas of the city, in all these different types of business or government, and that type of thing. And that makes it hard. So even if the corporation wants to, like an American corporation or a European corporation, wants to have better working conditions, it can be hard because they're really kind of believing the owners of the factories. They're not necessarily knowing how to make changes. So, but they're not really a substitute for regulatory bodies. They don't really have that ability to regulate. So, Maria, did you have questions in that paragraph there?
I think you covered it, the most of it. So, substitute for regulatory
bodies. Yeah.
Oh, regulatory bodies is like institutions?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Regulatory
like
bodies would be like your local building, down, like in Sweden, probably in your local town at the city hall, there's probably like the building department, and
yes.
those are the people who regulate building codes, for example. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're saying, like, as a corporation, like the head of the corporations who are those products, they can't really be the ones to come in and do the regulation of buildings and fire extinguishers and water supply and all those kinds of things. They can't be a substitute for that. That's not really their
But that's just an excuse.
Well, you could say that. You could say that, yes. So obviously a large corporation could ask for proof of that kind of stuff, you know. And then if the owner of the factory was not willing or able to provide proof that they use safe working conditions in buildings, then yeah, then the corporation could say, well, we're not going to use you, and they could go find somebody else. So yes, that's true.
Yeah, but there's nothing that prevents a large corporation from building a good
that's true
factory
too.
in a poor country. I don't think that government would say, no, thank you, we don't want you to build anything here.
Yes.
I mean, they wouldn't stop them.
Right, and that's kind of the interesting conversation that always happens when you're talking about capitalism and big business is, are businesses able to, we say, police themselves? And usually they don't. Exactly. And so that's usually why there's agencies that are part of the government or non-governmental agencies that try to regulate corporations even in making sure that they're being responsible. Because a lot of times the corporation, their main thing is profit. So they're not always concerned about the other things that people are concerned about. All right. The response... Oops. Okay, Sally, I'm going to mute you there. The response from many large retailers so far has been to pull production from the country altogether. The Walt Disney Company has already announced that it will end production in Bangladesh, and other retailers may follow suit. Okay. Ali, do you want to read? Okay, Ali. How about you, Hamid?
Okay.
Response?
Whoops. Okay. Ali, sorry. Okay, Ali, you're ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The response for many large retailers so far has been to pull production from the country altogether. The Walt Disney Company has already announced that it will end production in Bangladesh, and other retailers may follow suit.
Okay. So the response, the way that they responded or answered is that they're going to pull production. So that means they are going to stop production from these countries. So we're talking about large retailers. Retailers are the companies that sell the products. So for example, the Walt Disney Company, which you guys know is Disneyland and all the movies and all that kind of stuff that they create, which includes lots of clothing with all their Mickey Mouse things on it. They announced that they're going to end production. So they're going to pull out of Bangladesh. And then people are concerned that others may follow suit. So when you say follow suit, it just means do the same thing. So they're afraid they're going to do the same thing. Okay?
But suit, is that suit is like a suit?
No.
Suit.
No. So the word suit. Okay, Ali, I'm going to mute you. You have a lot of background noise. Okay, thanks. All right, so suit, yes. So the word suit in English has many different meanings. So a suit could be like a business suit that, you know, a businessman might wear to a meeting or something. With a suit, you say a suit and a tie. So that's with your jacket and your pants and your shirt, okay? But to follow suit means to do the same thing. Okay, so it also, another suit is like when you're playing cards and you have like aces, you know, types of things in cards, aces, diamonds.
Okay.
So there's there's different meanings of the word suit, but this is an expression which means to follow. Another expression is to follow in their footsteps. You know, other retailers may follow in their footsteps. It just means to do the same thing. You could say, and other retailers might do the same thing. You know, that's how you could say it. But may follow suit. That you use that all three of those words together to say they'll do the same thing. that could devastate the country's economy and make life even more difficult for its garment workers. Other Western retailers have indicated that they will instead invest in operations in Bangladesh and look at new plans for factory safety. But so far, most of the money pledged will be for relief efforts, and few have committed to upgrading factories or tougher inspections. Okay, Hamid?
That could devastate the country's economy and make life even more difficult for its garment workers. Other Western retailers have indicated that they will instead invest in operations in Bangladesh and look at new plans for factory safety. But so far, most of the money pledged will be for relief efforts, and few have committed to upgrading factories or tougher inspections.
Yes. So it could devastate. So that devastate is a kind of a stronger word than just hurt. You could say that could hurt the country's economy, but to devastate would mean like it would really be bad for the economy. It would make it even more difficult for the people there to make money, because kind of like we could say it's a double-edged sword. The corporations want to pay low wages, but yet the people, they can't find other jobs anyway, so they're willing to work for those low wages. So it's kind of a difficult situation for the workers especially. So they have indicated, so the word indicate means they've done something that gives you the message that they're going to do something else. So to indicate means to give you the message or to say that they will instead. So use the word instead when we're talking about they're not going to do something, so they're not going to do X. Instead, they're going to do this other thing. You can say Y, for example. So instead of pulling out of the country, they're going to invest. But it's really unclear, it sounds like, if they're really going to spend much money actually upgrading the factories, supporting tougher building inspections. That's what this means here, the building inspections or the factory inspections to make sure the workers are safe. Right now, the money is going to go towards relief efforts. So relief is helping the people who got hurt, helping the families of the people who died. So right now, it sounds like that's where they're going to put their money, in which they're going to invest there. Okay, so we have 12 more minutes. So now I want to talk a little bit about this article. I want to hear what you guys have to think and what you know about this situation around the world, or if you know anything at all, or is this something new to you? So Maria, I imagine in Sweden this type of concept of the garment industry workers not being very safe has probably been in the media before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been working in that industry, so that's why. Yeah, I'm emotionally involved.
Okay, tell me more about that. That's interesting. Okay, I want to know.
Yeah, I went to Hong Kong and China once, and it was kind of very an eye-opener for me when I went to those small to the factories. It's like they had like a dormitory where they slept in the same place as they worked.
Okay.
And like 4 or 6 beds in one small room, and then they probably worked a lot of hours every day. I didn't ask specifically about that. But
so were you going there what were you doing there? Were you gathering information, or you were inspecting?
No, I was inspecting the clothes, the garment.
Oh, okay.
Because we were buying garment from the place. Yeah.
So your company was buying products that they were making in that factory.
Yeah, precisely, yeah.
Okay.
As described in this article.
Okay. So do you still work in that industry, or just in the past?
No, in the past, yeah.
Oh, okay. So were the company that you worked for, did they have concern for their workers? Do you think that they wanted them to have better working conditions, or were they more interested in
No,
the
it was
product?
not on the agenda. It was
Okay.
not on the agenda. I mean, this was a medium-sized company. It was
Yeah.
not a large corporation. It was like 50 employees in an office in my town. And so this is the way most garment company works. But I think the large corporations like H&M, if you know them.
No, I don't.
H&M.
No.
Okay, it's a Swedish clothes
Okay.
corporation, which is very large. They have stores in all over the world, and they buy like so many clothes every year or every day. So they have a bigger responsibility. I mean, everybody has a responsibility, but they should really try to change this.
Okay.
Or put some more effort into it. I think so.
Yeah. Just looked it up on the
I mean,
Wikipedia.
they need to be accountable for these sort of things.
So what do you know about, like, why aren't they not? They just think they're not going to make enough money or something, or
well,
like, why wouldn't they?
Everyone is so specialized in their fields. So in the purchase or buyers department, everyone is focused on the economy.
I see. Yeah.
So, and I also think that when there are no like stop signs nowhere, you can just push the borders or limits further, or like, so if they don't say stop in Bangladesh or wherever, I mean, we keep pushing for cheaper garment and for more clothes and whatever, you know.
Right.
So that's the way the capitalism works.
Yes. So, does anybody have any ideas? How do you think it could change? Would it have to come from the consumers then? Would the consumers be the ones that say, we're not going to buy your stuff, or we want to pay more, but we want to make sure that the workers are safe? What do you guys think?
Yeah, from the grassroots.
Yes, definitively.
Yeah, because it's also kind of a frustrating, as a consumer, it's kind of hard to know what you're buying even. Like, maybe as a consumer, if I say, okay, I want to buy clothes that are made in factories that are safe, how would you even know? You know? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
There's no way to know.
Well, I think there's some organizations who try to monitor different, and I did hear, like, in the past, for example, I think Nike and some other organizations, other businesses, they were boycotted maybe, or they got a lot of pressure put on them to fix some things that were wrong. I think maybe like in Nicaragua or some other Central American countries, and people were saying they were not going to buy their stuff. So, but I think it's like you said, sometimes, Maria, in corporations that are so huge, I mean, it said that on Wikipedia that H&M has 94,000 employees. That's like a huge business. Everybody's just working in their little narrow section of the business, you know. So nobody's keeping an eye on the bigger picture or something. Yeah. What do you think, Mario? What kind of business? What kind of business do you work in, Mario?
I'm in a post-production company.
Post-production?
Yes, post-production. Yes.
Of what type of products?
Post-production about things regarding broadcasting.
Oh, okay. So like creating shows or something.
Yeah. We are just before the broadcast. Yes, we prepare all the stuff and materials and. Yeah.
So in France, have you heard that French consumers are concerned about the clothes and how they're made? Is that something that French people are concerned about?
No, I didn't hear directly, but for myself, I don't a big fan of brand brand product, things like that.
Yeah.
And I also try to apply this to also for my children, because you know, it's very easy to fall into the fact that you have to buy something very expensive, and it's
Right.
not very necessary.
Right.
And yes, and effectively the condition in those factories is horrible. But yeah.
I think from what I've read in other articles, it's not just the garment industry, but I do have an iPhone, and I think that's not better. The factories in China where they make the iPhones have a lot of similar problems.
Yes, I heard about this
Yes.
secondhand. Yes.
It makes it very frustrating as a consumer, because do you buy the iPhone or not, and then what do you do? You know, it's like
They do.
Yeah.
And they're really powerful, because Apple have much money than the government. So,
sure.
but,
yeah. And yet at the same time, go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, when it comes to clothes,
yes,
I don't know. I think there is such an abundance of clothes.
I know,
I mean,
really.
It's more than there are more than we need. So I basically just try to reduce the amount of clothes that I buy and try to buy quality stuff instead, because the cheap stuff that I buy, I mean, it doesn't last very long, or it doesn't, I don't know, it's just clutters up the closet. Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing about capitalism, because if you're driven by making money, so the profit, we have a saying, well, in English, it's called planned obsolescence. So, for example, computer and technology is perfect for this, because they already know that it's going to be outdated in a year or something. So they're not making products that can last for 40 years, you know, because if you're only a customer once every 40 years, then that company is not going to make very much money. So I think, Maria, even the clothing I've noticed, and I've heard other people say, the quality of the clothing is worse nowadays, even for more expensive clothing, for that reason. You know, jeans that used to last 10 years now maybe only last a year or 2 years before they start falling apart, you know. So
6 months.
There is also one more thing to this. It costs a lot of natural resources also to make like a pair of jeans. It costs a lot of water, for example, and other natural resources, and these things are not included in the price, which it should be. I mean, if you chop down a tree, you should like plant a new tree or pay for the tree or something like that, but that's not the way we think, because we think natural resources are free for everybody.
Right. Yes. Yes. Hamid or Arno or anybody else in here want to say something? We're just talking, and so I'm wondering, Hamid, what about in Turkey? Do people are they concerned about people working in factories and things like that, and the conditions?
Our station looks like Bangladesh, but not totally. We can produce our products in garment sector. So I am in lucky country. So the price is also cheap.
Yes.
For these products. And whenever I want to buy something, I can easily buy these things.
Yes.
Like this.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, it's definitely something that as more and more people become aware of, a lot of people care. I mean, I don't want anybody to die making a T-shirt that I want to buy, you know. So that's not really something that I would support. But the fact is, a lot of people just don't know. So that's why people write these types of articles and try to provide information that, you know, everybody in our own lives, we can only know so much about what's going on, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Even if we do know, we don't know what to do. So we'll just keep doing our best. Whatever that means, I don't know, but we'll try to do our best. Okay, you guys, well, we're done with this hour. I do have a speaking class coming up, and I was going to be talking about small towns versus big cities and the advantages of each one, because that came up in the article that we were reading last night about peaceful place in England. So if you want to come and talk, and that'll be one thing, and maybe we'll talk about some other things too, but we'll do some more talking in that hour. Okay, guys, thanks for coming.
Okay, Lisa.
Bye, everybody.
See you, Lisa.
Bye, Arno.
Bye.